Meet Toon Critic and Jasper Pie. Toon is the Pegasus on the left with the cool hat and the frosted tips.
Jasper is the unicorn on the right with the fez and the mustache. Remember that now.
It has been quite a while, and I know you guys have been waiting for this, but now is no better time for me and Jasperoni over here to talk about the Captain Underpants movie.
Right, we're still going with that name, but yay, Captain Underpants!
I'm just gonna say this right now. This has to be one of the most faithful adaptations of a book, a children's book no less, that I think I've ever seen, right down from the first few minutes of the movie to the end of the movie.
I have waited half a decade for this movie to come out, and it did not disappoint.
Yeah, me and Jasper, we are huge Captain Underpants fans. We read the books like when they were like first starting out. We owned almost all the books. They're still going on today. At least I think. Or did they stop? I forget. I know they're up to like, what, book 13 or something?
Well, Captain Underpants is officially done, but now Dave Pilkey's working on a new book series, Dogman.
Okay, so when are we going to get a Dogman movie? That ought to be interesting if we ever get that.
Yes, we need to see George and Harold's original comic, baby.
Or maybe a crossover at some point. But anyways, the movie, Captain Underpants movie. This exceeded, at least for me, my expectations. Like, I walked into this movie thinking, okay, how are they going to do this? They have to get this down just right. But considering that Captain Underpants is such a goofy, over-the-top, you can't take this seriously superhero anyway, it was interesting to see how they were going to incorporate some of the potty humor, I guess. I thought this would be nothing but a string of potty jokes, but this movie, right from the first few minutes of how they open it, is directly like how you would read from the book. It's like straight from the book, and I love that. I love that it sticks so close to everything with the comic book panels, with the animation style. There's a lot of good things in this movie, but we'll do the usual what we liked and didn't like things. So I'll start with you, Jasper. What did you like?
Is all of it a valid answer?
I mean, I really loved all of it too. But I'll admit there are one or two parts that kind of didn't stick with me. But what about you?
Okay, got a fair point. I think what I loved most about the movie was the humor. I mean, yeah, we've got your obligatory potty humor. I mean, with a movie called Captain Underpants, you kind of have to expect it.
Yeah.
But it's also really witty, like, kind of smart humor and just kind of out there humor. Or just all types of humor, and it fits. It all fits perfectly well, because that's how the books were supposed to go. They weren't supposed to be like these deep, evocative novels. They were just supposed to be fun for kids. And that's what we got here. A fun movie for anyone at any age, whether they're kids or just fans of the book.
Yeah, if you wanted, like, the dark, super serious stuff, you'd read, like, DC and Marvel. But when you read Captain Underpants, there's very low expectations. It's a dude in his underwear flying around beating up bad guys. Like, he's beating up a giant talking mechanical toilet, or a woman with a Medusa-style wig, or a guy, or the villain who's named Professor Poopy Pants, okay? There's a very low bar when it comes to Captain Underpants, and that's what really worked with this movie, I think.
And I'm praying that we get a sequel, because I need to see my wedgie woman and my bionic booger boy.
We got little glimpses of that. I guess I'll say one thing I liked. Watching this movie, it's interesting because I thought it was going to be just a direct adaptation of the first book. But this movie takes bits and pieces from, I think, books 2 and 4, and maybe a little bit onwards, and mishmashes them together to create a somewhat original story. Now, if you've not seen this movie, you definitely should at this point. There are spoilers throughout this. But the interesting thing about this movie is that it takes a lot of liberties. I was sitting there watching this, and I'm like, wait a minute, I don't remember that happening. Wait, that's not how that happened. Wait, what's going on here? Why are they changing up all this stuff? But, normally that would upset me, because I'm like, why are they changing so much stuff? Like, they're just taking all these bits from the other books and trying to combine everything together. But they do it so well, though, that it blends together almost seamlessly, and they have a new original story in it that, if I'm going to be honest, I think this is what the first book should have been.
Yeah, and plus, to be honest, Professor Poopy Pants and Turbo Toilet were really the best villains out of the first four. Nobody cares about Dr. Dibrand. Does anyone remember those 3 aliens?
What was it, the wicked alien lunch ladies or something? Yeah, those didn't really have much of an impact.
Poopy Pants and Poopy Pants and Turbo Toilet, on the other hand, big impact.
Yeah, and you also got Melvin, who is going to be the Bionic Booger Boy later on. But they don't do that. They don't even drop a hint towards it. They kind of just leave it at, yeah, I'm the no humor boy. I'm that guy. Like, Melvin is that kid. He is specifically that kid that you had growing up that didn't get any of the jokes and was such a super snobby, always nose up in the air, uptighty. Oh, look at me. I'm the nerdy one. I don't understand this humor because I'm smarter than all of that. Like, we all had that kid, and that annoyed me to no end, but they did it so well in this movie, too.
And he's still a big tattletale.
Yeah, that really annoyed me, but I think that was kind of the point of his character. The other good thing about this, when I said this is a faithful adaptation, when they do the comic book segments, like when they jump to, like, you know, how they do, like, the comic books, like when you're reading the book, sometimes they'll cut to, like, these crudely drawn comic book segments. That's in the movie, too. It's in the beginning, it's in the middle, it's through the end, it's all throughout. And not just that, they do several different animation styles, too. Like, I think they did, like, what was it, puppets at one point?
Yeah, they do a friggin' dream sequence of them as puppets. And the best part, they kept Flipperama. They adapted the Flipperama sequence.
I flipped, literally and figuratively, when I saw that sequence. I'm just like, okay, so we're gonna do a big action sequence, and they pause it, just like, hold on a second, this may be too graphic for you guys. And I perked up in my seat, I'm like, are they doing it? And then he brings out the pages, and he's doing the Flipperama thing, and I'm like, oh my god, they're doing it. I love this. This is perfect. I was watching this movie with Chuggledy Buggle, like, me and him were seeing it together, and he just looked over at me, and he said, I have never seen you geek out this much. And I'm like, because look! They did the thing! And he had never even seen any of the Captain Underpants stuff, but I looked at this, I'm like, they did it! They adapted this perfectly! And that's good! Everyone was laughing, too! This is how they kept the tone of the movie, just like the books, and there was nothing wrong with that. It was it was perfect! I thought it was perfect the way they did that.
And they ended it on the perfect note, just George and Harold saying, oh no, here we go again, like in all the books. That and the Flipperama were basically my two main requirements for this movie.
My main requirements were to see how well they would have the characters go. Like, let's see, we had I'm trying to remember exactly who. I know Kevin Hart plays Harold, and I think Thomas Middleditch plays George. I think.
I think that's reverse, actually.
Oh, it's reverse. Okay. Well, it was interesting because I was not expecting to have their voices coming out of those characters, but they really emphasized the, I guess from a younger perspective, just the whole, oh no, we're gonna be separated, we'll never be best friends again. Like, it's so innocent between the two of them, and they play it up so well. I think, like, just like, I'll never see you again, we're gonna be in different classrooms, we'll never see each other again. They play it up and make it so over the top, they make it so dramatic. But then again, that's kind of how, from a kid's perspective, that's kind of how it is. It's really weird hearing that from Kevin Hart, though, but let's see, though. I also think the guy that got to voice Mr. Krupp and Captain Underpants together was a spot-on choice. Like, that right there is exactly the right amount of goofy over-the-topness that you would expect from, like, a stereotypical superhero.
And they can finally say that his actor got to play a good role.
Yeah, I mean, he did the Hangover movies. I mean, that was okay. But I think this is probably one of his best roles. There's just that the certain tone that he brings to when he voices Captain Underpants, I think, is spot on. Speaking of, like, the changes, though, the way that they made him sort of, like, have a love interest, didn't they kind of tease that in the third book, but that just went absolutely nowhere? And then all of a sudden now, like, they're giving him a more sympathetic and a little bit more relatable side. They never did that in the books at all. They gave so much depth to him, which is very surprising.
Yeah, that was one weakness of the books. There was no real depth to Mr. Krupp. He was just a straight-up villainous principal, and now he actually has something to live for.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, I hate these kids, I'm gonna punish them every way I want. Oh wait, snap, tra-la-la, I'm going off to fight crime. Okay, what? Alright, he's one character here and one character the next, but it's very important that they added depth. Depth, you're right, is something that they've not put in the books, because it's a kid's book series. They don't need to put any depth into it. It's a guy in his underwear flying around and beating up bad guys. But it's very important, I think, that DreamWorks took this on, because DreamWorks has a really good way of making silly stuff have a very dramatic backside to it. Or at least a backstory, I think. Like, they did that with Trolls, where they had a very silly, absurd premise, but when you really dug into it, you learn to appreciate it more because of the depth that they added to it, and it makes you appreciate the books more. At least I think so.
I believe so also.
Now, the thing is, while we praise this movie up and down, this is my favorite animated movie this year. But what do we not like about it?
Oh boy. Who's gonna start with that one? Do we do it in reverse or just do the same order as last time?
I guess you can go first. Gives me time to think, because I really have to think on this.
Yeah, that's the thing. This was such a good movie, it's hard, but there is one thing that kind of bugged me.
What?
Okay, I know they're kids, so they kind of over-dramatize things, but did they forget that they live right next door to each other? They could just literally walk to each other's house after school, and it'd be like they never ever switched classes.
I don't think they were, in a weird way, I think they were smart enough to realize it, but at the same time they weren't. If they were willing to do all this other stuff, I think they were oblivious to that simple fact, mainly because I think they were so young. Maybe?
Yeah, I think. On the other hand, its perspectives are kind of skewed. I don't know. It's just one thing that kind of just dug me the wrong way. It's like, you guys, there's other times you'll be together than school. You share the same treehouse. The treehouse, I think, is right in between y'all's houses.
Do they have the same backyard? Like, is there no fence between those? Do they share the same backyard?
I think they do share a fence. I might have to look back, but still. But on the other hand, it does help, because, like, we know the threat isn't that big, but they don't see it. They're just so terrified, because the chemistry between them is, even when I try to do a negative, it goes into a positive.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's very hard for me to come up with something negative about this movie. The only thing I can think of is that as much as I enjoyed Professor Poopy Pants, there were some funny parts of him, don't get me wrong, but in the end, I felt that the finale was not as epic as I was hoping it was going to be. Maybe that was just me, because I was waiting for, like, certain parts of, like, okay, so he's gonna get his superpowers at any point. There it goes. Okay, yeah, there we go. And I guess also, maybe another thing that bugged me is that they made Captain Underpants too stupid. Or at least obliviously stupid and dangerous to the fact that, he is this superhero, but he's not using them the right way because he's completely oblivious and very inexperienced. Like, there's a lot of moments where he goes through where he does something, like, completely wrong, or I don't know. It's hard for me to put into words, but when I look at how they use this and how George and Harold just like, we have to turn him back. He's too dangerous. They never did that in the book. They had him be like this awesome, perfect superhero that knew how to do everything right, but in this, they've given him so many different flaws to the point where he's now just this quote-unquote, he's too dangerous to be kept a superhero. That, I don't know, I wasn't on board fully with how they did that idea.
Yeah, smart as George and Harold are, they are still kids, and this was kind of a boneheaded move.
Considering also that, like, him as a superhero, doing all these incredible things, but yet he does them a little too well. Like, I don't think he takes into account damage control or how to be a proper superhero. Then again, this is Captain Underpants. But I felt like they didn't need to dumb him down that much and make him that oblivious. I think it would have been cool if they had made him, like, a little closer to the book.
They could still keep him a goofball, just a more competent goofball who doesn't throw old ladies into trees.
Or, from what I remember, completely messing up the school. Or not taking into account that there's a little bit more to being a superhero than just trashing the place. I was about to say, like, at least Superman had better damage control, but I'm not gonna go that far.
Okay, that is below the belt, alright?
And that's, like, the lowest thing that I can give the movie, though, if I really, really dig deep. I thought overall, though, this movie was amazing. The one thing that, as I was, like, kind of at the end of the movie, even though the ending was disappointment, the credits, I never thought I needed in my life Weird Al Yankovic singing the Captain Underpants theme song. Weird Al freaking Yankovic.
You know the best part? In the first book, they mentioned how they played Weird Al songs over the PA system. It's like it was foretelling that he was to sing the theme song, and it worked to so many degrees.
When I first heard that, like, that's what they were going to do, they had a music video, I think, a week before the movie came out. I watched it over and over again, and I listened to it, and I'm just like, this was like a match made in heaven, because you have Weird Al, who, of course, is the goofy, over-the-top guy that we know of. His songs are synonymous with, like, goofy and geeky stuff. And then you have Captain Underpants, which is synonymous with pretty much the same things. You add these two together, and you get something that I think fully puts you into... It fully immerses you into the movie, especially at the end when you have the credits and how they have all the goofy comic book settings. Basically, this movie is, like I said, one of the most faithful adaptations, I think. Even though it took a lot of liberties, and even though it changed up a lot of stuff, it's so close to the books with everything that it does that it is a near-perfect movie. What do you think, Joey?
Basically, yeah, this... and plus, us along with... Bleh. Sorry, trying to gather my... Alright. Plus, with all the dramatic superhero movies out there, which are all good, well, most of them, this gave us something we really needed. An excuse to laugh at superheroes. Because face it, while the superheroes may have the most compelling backstory and the most troubled past, sometimes you just need to laugh at how silly they look.
Exactly. We have, like, the Marvel Cinematic Universe diving us into some very deep and dark stuff. You have DC now slowly starting to realize, hey, maybe we can have a sense of humor and people will like us. And then you have Captain Underpants, which honestly is in a league of its own at this point. It's transcended what you would normally think of superhero movies. It's okay. Superheroes are meant to be silly at some points, and that's okay. It's Captain freaking Underpants. Again, a low bar to go with.
I guess it's safe to say that Captain Underpants is the hero that the world needs, but doesn't deserve.
Yeah, pretty much that, because it didn't make... I think it made like 90 million at the box office, and that sucks because I would have expected it to make more. It's DreamWorks. DreamWorks is like the second biggest animation company out there. When you see a DreamWorks movie, you're drawn to it.
On the plus side, it made more than half its budget back, and that's good enough for me.
It had great reviews. It did not flop at the box office, which I think is the good thing, because you can look at this movie and say, yes, it did good. It didn't do as amazing as we were hoping, but it did good enough to pass. So if I were to give this movie a grade, I give it a solid A.
I give it an A+. The plus is for Weird Al Yankovic.
I would say that's fair. So... if there is going to be a sequel, which hopefully there will be because they'd be crazy not to, I think that they should definitely incorporate some stuff later on with, what was it? I think they went into, like, the time travel stuff with, like, the time-traveling porta-potty thing.
Oh, yeah. After Bionic Booger Boy's first appearance, they delved deep into the time-traveling thing.
Yeah, from what I remember reading it where they got a pterodactyl buddy and a hamster, and then... things got really complicated with like 2 different versions, and then there was all sorts of crazy stuff. And I think by the end of it, they had time traveled and retconned their story so much that they're just like, you know what? We're just gonna end it here. We can't fix this. You know, we acknowledge it. We screwed up. So, yeah.
Oh yeah, and slight spoiler alerts in the final book. It turns out Harold is gay.
Okay. That's all you need to say about it. Okay, cool. They didn't make that like a big focus. They didn't attach that as a trope to his character. Cool. He's gay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more progressive than some of the stuff I usually see.
Yeah. I'm glad that they didn't try to tack that on or anything. I think what they did here was just fine. So, I think it's safe to say we both highly recommend this movie.
Ah, yeah. No question there.
If you also, guys, if you want to, we highly also recommend reading the books. The books are amazing, and even if you're not a big fan of the books, go see the movie anyway.
Yes, either or. Embrace your inner underwear. Watch it in your underwear if you have to.
I don't know if that's a good idea or not. At a theater, no. In the privacy of your own home, no, maybe.
I think it's actually coming out on DVD next month, so they won't have much of a choice.
Buy it on DVD and all
Yes.
and all that good stuff. So if you made it this far, go ahead and put down in the comments what your thoughts are. If you saw the Captain Underpants movie, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, and if you'd like to see me and Jasper team up again to do another little collab, because Lord knows, probably somewhere down the line there's another movie we'll cover.
It needs to happen!
I really want there to be a second Captain Underpants movie because, like I said, they call this the first epic movie. They know. There's more than enough material for there to make a second movie. Because there's, they covered, maybe only the first few books. There's, 10 plus of them. There's plenty of material to go with. They could bring in the Bionic Booger Boy. They could go through the time travel stuff. They could go through, what else was there? I'm trying to remember.
Plus, minor spoilers, Professor Poopy Pants gets away.
Yeah, so they can bring him back, too. It's a silly concept for a silly superhero series that worked. And kids today probably... God, I sound old when I say this. Kids today probably don't even know what Captain Underpants is. Educate them. It's harmless fun. It is truly harmless. It's a guy in his underwear flying around and beating up bad guys. It's not that bad.
Parents will try to stop you from reading the books. Don't let them.
I mean, hey, would you rather have your kids reading Captain Underpants, or would you rather have them looking up porn? Just think about that for a second. There are really worse things out there.
Oh yeah, I can think of at least 5 or 6.
So, with that being said, I am Toon Critic, keeping you totally tuned for your entertainment. He's the Pizza Pone. Go and check out his DeviantArt, because he's got comics and all that good stuff. And stay tuned, because all you train type people, yeah, might wanna stick around, because me and Jasper and Thespio might be working on something, a little something.
We might be getting back in our prime, baby.
Yeah, we can't say anything on it right now, just letting you guys know there's something in development, and you might see it probably next year. Maybe.
I'm working as fast as I can, but rest assured, it's coming. It's on its way. We're not like George R. Martin.
Seriously? Oh yes, the redub is coming! 15 seasons later. Oh yes, it's finally here. Oh god, I can't even stand Game of Thrones. Anyway, thank you guys for watching, and stay awesome.
Like, comment, subscribe!